Councils are frequently failing to use their powers to tackle antisocial behaviour, according to the local government and social care ombudsman. That is the watchdog that look at this. They cited cases including a victim being told a neighbour's 13-hour-long party did not warrant action. Really? I heard about this at the weekend, that somebody whose neighbours are chucking parties at midnight. All manner of characters just sort of showing up in a small communal sort of area of about 15 flats. And one of them in the middle decides, oh, it's midnight, let's have a party. At what point would that be okay? It's a Wednesday night. Folk have got to go to work. The watchdog said it held up 3/4 of the cases it investigated in the past year and found fault in how the council acted. So, as I mentioned there, one neighbour had a party, loud music, lasted more than 13 hours. Despite another party, a few weeks later, this person was told by the council that its policy would only consider taking action if it recorded 6 incidents within 25 days. What did Isaac Newton come up with? Who came up with that? What's that, a law of physics, or is it science? He records 6 incidents in 25 days, we can act. The Ombudsman said the council's policy was too inflexible and recommended it was reviewed. Have you been plagued by antisocial behaviour in your community? 0344 499 1000. Let's get a word on this and other stories as well. Alex Crowley, former advisor to Boris Johnson, is with us. Alex, good afternoon to you.
Hi, Ian.
Nice to have you with us again. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it, really? I mean, you'd think it wouldn't be the work of a moment to sort this kind of stuff out. Some people are kicking off. They're doing bad stuff in your neck of the woods. Call the police, call the council. Someone comes around, sorts it out, job done. If only life worked like that, but it doesn't.
No, it doesn't. And the reality of the situation is that the local authorities have a legal obligation to deal with a lot of this stuff, whether it's noise, whether it's littering, and so on and so forth. But the simple truth is local authorities don't act. And the reason why they don't act is because they are too busy obsessing about things that don't matter. So, for example, did you know, Ian, that about 75% now of local authorities in this country have declared a climate emergency? Now, you might think that that is a perfectly harmless bit of window dressing, but this takes up valuable politician and officer time. And so what are they doing? They're banging on about a climate emergency that, by the way, the term emergency is completely overblown. In fact, the UN body that deals with climate change has said as much. So that's not alarmist to talk about that.
Indeed.
So they're banging on about all of this stuff, and they're not dealing with the real problems that they are legally obliged to deal with. If you have a noisy neighbour, Ian, I hope you don't, but if you do, but by them making unreasonable antisocial noise, they are breaking the law.
Yeah.
It's in the Environment Act, and the council have a legal duty to come and deal with it. But I bet you if you tried to report it, well, you probably wouldn't even get hold of anyone at the council, let alone them actually going to come out and do anything about it.
And I sense what kind of tends to happen, and this is rather sad, and this is perhaps a wider issue about communities and how we live in the 21st century and the like, but when an area starts to go downhill, then those that live in those areas there's a tipping point when they become less likely to report it because it's become the norm. And they then have no respect where they live. They just want to get out at some point, and that's often impossible to do. So it's sort of, it has if it's not dealt with quickly, it has a compounding effect.
The clip of that police officer was absolutely right. If an area starts to have low-level antisocial behaviour that's not dealt with, it very quickly can escalate. If you walk down your street constantly and it's constantly being fly-tipped, and we've all seen it, particularly if we've been in inner cities, you know, you walk down the same street and one day there's a mattress there and then there's a chair there and then someone's put a rubbish bag down and someone's put another one down. These are all the sorts of things that escalate to more serious stuff. We're talking about the problem generally of crime in our communities, of burglaries, of knife crime. Where do we think all of this begins as a social environment? It begins when when the public places that we all inhabit are left to wither because local authorities, and it's primarily on local authorities, you know, I'll cut the police some slack here because the point is you shouldn't have to get the police involved. We have local councils for a reason. They're there to do this stuff. And because they're obsessing about woke, because they're obsessing about equality and diversity, because they are, I mean, literally, I looked up this study the other day. Do you know that local authorities combined own almost 2 million pieces of art?
Seriously?
Yeah, 2 million pieces of art.
I can believe it, because you walk into the council office and there's always a big mural of some kind. Nice piece of pottery there, and you discover it was purchased as a rare vase from Portugal from the 1700s or something.
Yeah. It's brilliant, right? And do you know how much all of this is being valued at by the authorities themselves?
Oh, go on.
£1.9 billion.
Man alive.
It's all just sitting there. Most of it's sitting in a vault somewhere. It's not even on display. So the left will say, "Oh, well, councils haven't got any money."
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry, but they've got money. Okay, they've got money to spend. It's what they're choosing to spend it on. It's the priorities.
That is extraordinary. Weird art and wacky job titles seem to be, and bizarre, uncorroborated initiatives, as you alluded to, with the emergency situation.